They thought no one would notice. They thought their whispers would stay buried, their lies would stay polished, their cruelty would stay hidden in the shadows. But here's the truth. Nothing stays buried forever. The universe has a way of keeping receipts, and right now, every move they made against you is being dragged out into the open. They wanted your silence. They wanted your surrender. But instead, they've only exposed themselves as the villains of this story. You need to hear this, because what they did to you was not small. It was not just gossip. It was not just rejection. It was an orchestrated attempt to break an innocent soul who never asked for war. They demanded respect while stripping you of honor. They wanted recognition while tearing your name apart. That's not just wrong. It's treachery in its purest form. And the universe doesn't just look away when innocence is tortured like that. It watches, it records, and eventually it responds. And Chosen One, if you feel this message pulling on you right now, it's because you're standing in that shift. The air is different. The atmosphere has changed. You can almost sense the silence around you. It's the kind of silence that follows after a storm. Their noise is gone. Their laughter has thinned. Behind closed doors, they are restless. They wonder why the same tricks no longer work, why the spotlight is no longer flattering, why the world doesn't bend the way it used to. This is where you lean in. This is where you sit a little taller. And while you do, I want to thank you for being part of this mission. Chosen One, if this message already feels like it's speaking directly to you, press the like button and subscribe. It's more than just a click. It's a way to return the energy, to strengthen this collective voice, and to make sure the truth spreads wider than their lies ever did. Now, let's continue, because the story doesn't end at silence. It begins there. What you're witnessing right now is the aftermath of a battle they thought they won. And yet here you are, still breathing, still rising, still untouchable. That's the part they never planned for. They assumed the weight of their betrayal would crush you, but instead, it pressed you into strength. They assumed your isolation would make you crumble, but instead it sharpened your vision. They assumed turning people against you would leave you powerless, but now you carry a power that terrifies them. Think about history for a moment. Every time innocence was mocked, every time a just voice was silenced, the backlash was never delayed forever. From ancient courts that punished liars with the very sentence they plotted, to modern whistleblowers who brought down entire empires, the truth has always had a strange way of circling back. They may laugh for a season, but they never keep the last laugh. And right now, Chosen One, they are feeling it. They're restless because their show is over. They're uneasy because the masks are slipping. They're agitated because they can't undo the truth the universe has already stamped in their story. They tortured innocence and demanded honor, but honor isn't bought with force. It's earned with integrity. They had none. That's why their empire is collapsing, brick by brick, right in front of your eyes. Here's the revelation most won't admit. Those who tried to bury you are now haunted by you. Every rumor they spread has turned into their own paranoia. Every time they laughed at your pain, they wrote their own downfall in invisible ink. And now, that ink is being revealed. The universe doesn't hand out free passes when the crime is betrayal, and the punishment has already begun. So, take a breath, Chosen One. You're not just standing in the middle of a story, you're standing in the middle of evidence. Evidence that the universe saw what they did. Evidence that their weapons didn't work. Evidence that your name, once dragged, is now being lifted higher than ever. They wanted to define you by their cruelty, but instead their cruelty defined them, and the world is beginning to see the difference. Stay with me, because what comes next isn't just exposure, it's closure. This is the moment where honor comes rushing back to your name, not because you begged for it, but because the universe demanded it. And when that happens, no enemy, no crowd, no false witness can take it away. And Chosen One, before we break this down step by step, I want you to pause and really take this in. The universe is not just watching, it's moving. Every shadow they threw on your name is being pulled into the light, and every wound they left is being counted as evidence against them. That's why this moment matters. Don't just listen as if it's another message online. Stay with me, because the deeper we go, the more you're going to see how their cruelty has already flipped into your victory. If this message is striking you in the chest right now, drop a comment with the number 77 to mark that you refuse to let their lies define you any longer. And while you're at it, make sure you're subscribed and locked in with us, because voices like yours are the reason the truth keeps spreading. The longer you sit with this, the more undeniable it will become. You'll feel the pull. That's not random. That's proof you are the one this was written for. So lean in, Chosen One. The silence around you is not empty, it's the sound of justice about to land. And now, let's get into it step by step. Number 1, they didn't just smear your name. They put themselves on trial without knowing it. When they lied about you, they didn't just twist your story. They signed their own confession, sealed in the universe's book of evidence. Chosen One, let's get something straight. This wasn't harmless talk. This wasn't the kind of gossip that blows over in a week. No, what they did was calculated, sharp, and designed to erase your dignity. They didn't just lie on you. They built entire fictions and sold them like truth, believing no one would notice. But here's the gut punch they never expected. The universe was listening, and it doesn't take slander lightly. Think about it. Why do lies cut so deep? Because they're not just words, they're daggers aimed at identity. When someone says, "You made a mistake," that's conflict. But when they say, "You are the mistake," that's assassination. They didn't just accuse you of actions, they rewrote who you are. They dressed your innocence in their guilt, hoping the world would buy the costume. But the universe has eyes sharper than any disguise, and it saw right through it. And here's where it gets brutal. They thought their lies made you smaller. They thought dragging your name through dirt meant you'd never rise again. But dirt has always been where seeds grow. Every false word they buried you under only fertilized your strength. Now, as you stand taller, their lies are backfiring. What they thought would silence you is becoming the loudest proof of your resilience. Maybe you've asked yourself, why did they target me? Why go this far? The answer is simple. They feared what they couldn't control. People don't waste energy fabricating lies about those who don't matter. They go after the ones who hold weight, the ones whose presence alone threatens their comfort. You weren't just another person in the room, you were the one the room couldn't ignore. And when insecure people can't erase your presence, they try to erase your reputation. That's what this was about. But Chosen One, let me remind you, truth has a longer lifespan than lies. Lies sprint, but truth endures. Lies can grab attention, but truth keeps it. Lies can create temporary shadows, but truth is the sunrise that burns them away. The universe doesn't need your rebuttal. It simply lets time peel the mask off the liars. And right now, their masks are slipping. Let's not sugarcoat it. They weren't careless, they were cruel. They didn't just slip up in anger, they orchestrated campaigns. Think about how intentional it was, smiling in your face while planting poison behind your back, twisting stories until even people who didn't know you began to doubt. That's not petty, that's predatory. But predators always underestimate the moment the prey grows teeth. History has shown us this pattern again and again. Innocent voices smeared as guilty, only for the truth to overturn everything later. Whistleblowers branded as liars until the truth burned corporations down. Visionaries mocked as mad until their ideas rebuilt the world. And here you stand in the same line of fire, not because you were weak, but because your very existence disrupted their illusions. And now, here's the irony. The lies they thought would protect them are exposing them. Every accusation they threw at you has become a mirror reflecting their own behavior. They said you were unstable. Now look at their chaos. They said you were dishonest. Now their credibility is collapsing. They said you were the problem. Now the problem is stamped across their forehead, visible to everyone who once believed them. That's how the universe works. It doesn't just cancel lies, it converts them into proof of the liar's character. Let me give you a personal truth here. I've seen this happen with my own eyes. People who built castles of deception around someone innocent, only to watch those castles crumble in the most humiliating way. At first it feels like the lies win. You feel abandoned, exposed, powerless. But then, weeks, months, sometimes even years later, the truth starts breaking through like sunlight through cracks. The very same people who turned against the innocent are suddenly apologizing, suddenly remembering who you really were. And the liars, they're left standing in the ruins of their own schemes. Chosen one, that's the cycle you're stepping into right now. Their words didn't just bruise you, they bound them. They chained themselves to consequences they can't escape. Because when you lie against someone who carries light, the universe doesn't forget. It documents, and every lie spoken is another weight tied to their ankles while they pretend to swim. Here's the question you might be asking. Do I need to fight back? Do I need to clear my name? And the answer is no. The fight isn't yours anymore. You've already won by surviving. The universe has already picked up the case. While you sat silent, thinking nothing was happening, everything was happening. Your silence was not weakness, it was testimony. And testimony doesn't need to shout, it needs to endure. So what happens next? Retribution, but not the kind you deliver. It's the quiet kind, the kind that rearranges lives, the kind that turns every false word into a spotlight they can't escape. You'll see them restless, paranoid, fidgeting in rooms they once dominated. You'll hear the cracks in their voice, the desperation in their stories, the way they trip over their own fabrications. That's the sound of the universe cashing their debt. And you're the proof that innocence doesn't stay buried. You are the evidence that no smear campaign lasts forever. You are walking testimony that the universe is furious on your behalf because honor is returning to your name whether they like it or not. They didn't just lie on you, they lied in front of the only witness that matters. And now the verdict is written. Let this fuel you. Let this make you stronger. Don't waste time chasing their downfall. Their downfall is already in motion. Your focus is your rise. Every day you walk forward, every step you take in dignity, you remind the world who was guilty and who was innocent all along. And chosen one, believe me, they feel it. Every rumor is a ghost haunting them now. Every false word is a stone dragging them down. They thought you'd be erased, but instead, they're the ones fading. So stand tall, don't shrink, don't flinch. The same lies that once threatened to destroy you are now the loudest drumbeat announcing your survival. And that survival is the one thing they can never rewrite. Number 2, they didn't just mistreat you, they mocked the universe's choice. When they mocked you, they weren't mocking your flaws. They were mocking the universe's decision to raise you above their reach. Chosen One, let's make something clear. They didn't come after you because of your quirks, your personality, or some petty misunderstanding. No, this was never about dislike. This was about defiance. They weren't angry at what you did. They were furious at who you are. They weren't fighting your character. They were fighting the decision the universe made to place weight on your name. That's what made their attack so dangerous. Let's be honest here. If you were unremarkable, if you blended into the background like everybody else, they would have ignored you. But you weren't invisible, were you? Your very existence was a reminder that the universe's favor skipped over them. Imagine this, a room full of people waiting for recognition, rehearsing their roles, demanding the spotlight. And then you walk in, quiet, authentic, not playing by their rules, and the light tilts in your direction. Do you know what that does to fragile egos? It shatters them. Envy is never about what you have. It's about what they feel they're entitled to. That's why their hate runs so deep. It's not your success that bothers them. It's that the universe gave you what they thought belonged to them. They were waiting for recognition, applause, validation. And when it didn't arrive, they couldn't process it. So instead of facing their own rejection, they made you the enemy. Maybe you've asked yourself, why me? Why do they pour this much energy into tearing me down? The answer is brutal but freeing. It's because you expose them. Your presence is a mirror they can't escape. You're proof that real power doesn't come from begging for approval. It comes from being chosen by something bigger than politics, cliques, or social approval. And the fact that you didn't fit their script made it even worse. They expected someone polished, someone they could manage, someone they could clap for without feeling threatened. But the universe picked you, flawed, real, observant, and unstoppable. And they hate it. Nothing exposes pretenders faster than the rise of the authentic. That's you. Your authenticity made their performances look cheap. Your quiet strength made their loud acts look desperate. Your presence reminded them that they weren't chosen, not because they weren't loud enough, but because they weren't true enough. And instead of accepting that truth, they retaliated. Think about how absurd that is. Imagine a group of people booing at the ocean because they don't like the tide. Imagine them standing outside in the rain, screaming that water shouldn't fall from the sky. That's what their resistance to you looked like. They thought their disapproval could undo the universe's choice. They thought if enough voices shouted against you, maybe the stars would shift. That's not just arrogance, that's delusion. Here's the irony. The more they attacked you, the more they revealed why they were never chosen. Because a person aligned with truth doesn't fight the universe's decisions. They respect them. They don't waste their breath trying to tear down what wasn't built by human hands. They celebrate, they support, they learn. But these people? They tried to rewrite destiny with lies and sabotage, and all they really did was stamp unworthy on their own foreheads. Jealousy is the mask failure wears when it refuses to admit defeat. Look at them now, bitter, restless, desperate for attention while pretending not to care. That's what happens when you mock the universe's decision. They thought they could erase your role by denying it. But Chosen One, you are the living contradiction to every script they rehearsed. You are proof that the unseen, the overlooked, the underestimated are exactly the ones the universe trusts with power. And let's get even more real. They didn't just dislike you, they mocked the process that put you here. They mocked the very wisdom that decided you were ready. They mocked fairness, they mocked order, they mocked justice, they mocked the throne of balance itself. And what happens when people mock order? The universe doesn't argue, it corrects, and correction is never quiet. Imagine a courtroom where the guilty laugh at the judge, thinking their jokes make them free. Imagine them whispering among themselves, plotting as if the law doesn't exist. That's how your enemies acted. But Chosen One, what they didn't realize is that the judge doesn't need their approval. The verdict isn't changed by their laughter. Their mockery didn't undo your assignment. It only exposed their rebellion. Maybe part of you wonders, will they ever admit what they did? Will they ever apologize? Here's the truth. Many won't. Their pride is too thick, their delusion too deep. But they won't have to admit it for the world to see it. Their downfall will become the confession they refuse to speak. Their losses will become the apology they never gave you. Their silence, once loud with judgment, will turn into proof of their own humiliation. And here's where it gets powerful. While they mocked, you endured. While they threw stones, you built with them. While they tried to strip your dignity, you wore silence like armor. That's what separates the chosen from the imitators. They thought your quiet meant weakness. They didn't know it meant discipline. They thought your lack of defense meant guilt. They didn't know it meant patience, and now patience has done what their attacks could never stop. It has proven you right. Mockery is the weapon of the powerless. That's all they had left. They couldn't strip your talent. They couldn't undo your resilience. They couldn't steal your presence. So they mocked, thinking ridicule would shrink you. But ridicule is nothing but recycled insecurity. And every time they mocked you, they revealed more about themselves than they did about you. Chosen One, let this sink in. They didn't just mock you, they mocked the decision to put you here, and that decision is untouchable. No lie, no sabotage, no crowd can cancel what's already been stamped in the universe's order. Their rebellion wasn't against you, it was against truth itself, and nobody wins a fight against truth. So stand tall in this. Their mockery was the loudest proof that you are different. Their resistance was the clearest sign that you carry what they don't. Their attacks were confirmation that the universe has invested in you. And their downfall? That will be the final proof. Because Chosen One, their laughter was never power, it was panic. Their gossip was never truth, it was a mask. Their mockery was never about you, it was about their refusal to accept reality. And reality has already ruled. You were chosen, they were not. And no amount of mocking will ever change that. Number 3. They wanted your ruin because your innocence exposed their rot. The guilty never fear lies, they fear innocence, because innocence makes their corruption impossible to hide. Chosen One, they didn't want truth, they wanted blood. That's the cold reality. Your innocence wasn't something they overlooked, it was the mirror they couldn't stand to look into. You weren't the threat because you were guilty of anything, you were the threat because you weren't. And that difference alone turned their envy into war. Think about it. Imagine a pack of wolves circling not because you attacked, but because you stood there calm, unshaken, refusing to howl with them. That silence, that peace, drove them wild. You weren't messy enough to blend into their chaos, and that's why they couldn't leave you alone. Your calm spirit exposed their turbulence. Your clean hands revealed their stains, and so they decided that your destruction was necessary for their survival. When innocence walks in the room, corruption starts to sweat. That's exactly what happened. You didn't argue. You didn't chase their lies. You simply existed with honesty, and it was enough to collapse the fragile tower of excuses they were standing on. Your presence alone told the truth they'd spent years covering up. And when truth is that undeniable, the guilty will always try to silence it. Maybe you've asked yourself, why were they so desperate to see me break? Why did they need me to snap? The answer is simple. They needed you dirty. They needed something to justify the filth they were already drowning in. If you stayed pure, their entire story unraveled. So they baited you, cornered you, plotted against you, hoping you'd lose control. But you didn't, and that drove them insane. So they escalated, they exaggerated stories, fabricated scandals, painted you as the villain in their play. They weren't just attacking you, they were trying to erase you. They wanted your credibility gone, your influence dead, your name stripped of honor. But here's the fact they couldn't swallow. Lies can travel fast, but truth outlives them all. They went digging for dirt and ended up drowning in their own mud. That's the poetic justice playing out now, because Chosen One, the universe saw it all, every twisted word, every staged betrayal, every attempt to crucify what was clean. And now the scales are tilting, not because you were perfect, but because your innocence stood unshaken in the face of their hate. And that's exactly why justice is no longer whispering, it's roaring. Number 4, the universe's silence wasn't absence, it was evidence being gathered. Silence doesn't mean approval, it means the universe is building a case too airtight for them to escape. Chosen One, they mistook the quiet for weakness. They thought that because nothing happened right away, it meant they were free to do whatever they pleased. They mistook the stillness of the universe as a stamp of permission, not realizing that silence is often the most dangerous sign of all. When the universe goes quiet, it's not empty, it's recording. Every whisper, every fake handshake, every dagger disguised as a smile, it was all logged. They thought they got away with it. In reality, they were walking deeper into their own evidence file. Imagine this, a storm building offshore. The sky looks calm, the water's steady, and everyone assumes it's nothing. But beneath the surface, the current is shifting, pulling stronger, preparing for a wave that no one can outrun. That's what's been happening around you. The quiet wasn't neglect, it was pressure building. Patience isn't absence, it's precision. If the universe had stepped in too soon, your strength would have been questioned. People would have said you were rescued instead of resilient. But now, there's no doubt. You endured it without snapping, without staining your hands, without collapsing into their traps. And that's exactly what makes their guilt undeniable. Maybe you've asked yourself, why was it allowed to go on so long? Why didn't it end sooner? Because Chosen One, sometimes the truth has to be exposed without interference. If it ended quickly, they could have hidden behind excuses. But stretched out over time, their corruption painted itself in full color for everyone to see. The same silence they mocked is the silence that sealed their fate. While they laughed at your pain, the universe was giving them rope, not as a gift, but as proof. And now that rope has turned into the noose of their own consequences. Nothing exaggerated, nothing left out. Everyone involved will face their portion exactly as they earned it. You weren't forgotten. You were being defended in slow motion. And now the silence has ended. The wave has reached the shore. The case is closed, and the verdict is in motion. Number 5. They thought they were testing you, but it was their trial all along. Those who set traps for you were only stepping into the evidence they built against themselves. Chosen One, they really believed they were the examiners. They thought you were sitting in their classroom, under their control, with them holding the red pen of judgment. Every jab at your wounds, every cruel smirk, every bait they dangled in front of you, they thought they were measuring your breaking point. But they had it backwards. You were never the one being tested. They were. Your patience exposed their impatience. Your silence exposed their noise. Your endurance became the spotlight, showing how far they were willing to go when they thought there would be no consequence. They assumed they were pulling you apart, but the whole time they were unraveling themselves in full view of the universe. Imagine this. Someone aiming a magnifying glass at you, expecting to burn holes, only to realize the lens was turned around and the light was scorching them instead. That's what happened here. They mocked, they pushed, they sneered, but all they did was prove their own corruption. Maybe you've asked, why did I have to take so much? Why was I put in that position? Because the universe already knew your strength, the silence, the calm, the refusal to collapse. It wasn't about proving you, it was about revealing them. Every false smile that hid envy, every concern that was really control, every bitter word disguised as wisdom, you exposed all of it simply by standing firm. A mirror doesn't lie, it just reflects what's in front of it. And that's what you were to them, Chosen One, a living mirror. They saw themselves every time they tried to twist you. They could have walked away. They could have chosen humility, but they didn't. They chose cruelty. They chose envy. They chose darkness. And every choice sealed their own outcome. They thought this was a game. They thought they were watching your downfall. But the truth is, they were being investigated the whole time. The universe was measuring their limits, not yours. And now the mask is gone. What they thought was your trial has been exposed as theirs. And the verdict? They failed. Number 6. They made you their scapegoat. But this time, the universe is collecting the debt. They thought breaking you would wash their sins clean, but all they did was write their guilt in permanent ink. Chosen One, they didn't just mistreat you, they sacrificed you. They acted as if throwing you to the wolves would somehow make their own demons easier to live with. They projected their guilt onto your name and convinced themselves that what they were doing wasn't cruelty, it was justice. But let's be clear, there was nothing pure in their motives. There was no cleansing. There was no higher purpose. It was ego. It was envy. It was evil. They twisted every truth about you to make their story work. Your silence, they called it guilt. Your strength, they called it arrogance. Your discernment, they called it rebellion. They made you the scapegoat for everything they couldn't fix in themselves. And because you didn't fight back, because you didn't play their dirty game, you became the perfect target. Innocence irritates corruption, and you were proof of everything they lacked. When wolves can't hide their hunger, they create a lamb to blame for their appetite. That's what they did. They needed someone to burn, someone to erase, someone to pin their failures on, and they chose you. Not because you were guilty, but because you were safe enough not to retaliate. That was their mistake. Maybe you've wondered, why me? Why was I the one they decided to destroy? Because your clean record left them no excuse. Because your kindness revealed how cruel they had become. because your restraint exposed their lack of discipline. They weren't looking for healing, they were looking for a victim. But here's the reversal they never expected. The universe isn't letting it slide. What they did to you is now their unpaid bill, and every tear, every insult, every betrayal has been added to the ledger. Justice isn't a sermon, it's a sentence. And that sentence is already unfolding. Pain doesn't vanish, it becomes evidence. And now, Chosen One, the very suffering they tried to bury is the spotlight exposing them. They thought your silence would protect them, but silence only made the case stronger. They didn't just slaughter innocence, they handed the universe undeniable proof. And now the debt is due. Number 7. They built fame. Off your ruin. But now, the universe is flipping the script. When liars build their castles on your name, the universe makes sure those castles collapse on top of them. Chosen One, they didn't just try to break you, they used you. They turned your pain into their platform, your struggles into their storylines, and your silence into their stage. The more they dragged your name through the mud, the more attention they collected. The more they humiliated you, the more powerful they felt. They built their reputation on your suffering as if your downfall was their currency. Think about it. Every time they exaggerated your flaws, they gained sympathy. Every time they mocked your healing, they gained an audience. They painted themselves as heroes, victims, or wise advisors, all while quietly feeding off your humiliation. That's not honesty, that's manipulation dressed up as truth. Reputation built on lies is like a house built on quicksand. It sinks the moment truth rises, and that's what's happening now. The universe never rewards dishonor, it documents it. Everything they stole, every ounce of credibility they siphoned off your name is now collapsing under its own weight. Their applause is fading, their audience is restless, the mask no longer fits. Maybe you've asked yourself, why did people believe them? Why did no one question their story? Because manipulation works for a while, but fruit doesn't lie. Over time, the cracks in their narrative started showing. The people who once clapped for them are now uncomfortable, seeing outcomes that don't match the image. Their peace is gone, their favor is crumbling, their alliances are unraveling, because nothing built on deception lasts. Silence isn't weakness, it's strategy. You didn't have to fight for vindication, you didn't have to clap back. The universe is handling the reversal for you, and now the same rooms where they tried to shame you are the same rooms where their shame is unfolding. That's not coincidence, that's correction. Chosen One, your name is being restored organically, not through revenge, but through reality, not through force, but through truth. And while they bear the rotten fruit of dishonor, you are rising untouched, proving once again that real favor doesn't need performance. It stands on its own. Number 8. The universe was never neutral. It was just waiting for the balance to break. Patience isn't weakness. It's the universe giving liars enough rope to strangle their own credibility. Chosen One, you once mistook silence for uncertainty. You thought maybe the stillness meant the universe was deciding, weighing both sides, wondering if you somehow deserved the betrayal. But the truth is, there was never a question. The universe saw everything from the beginning, every lie whispered, every scheme plotted, every smile that masked a knife behind your back. There was no neutrality, there was only timing. Silence wasn't hesitation, it was strategy. Imagine a chess master letting an opponent make move after move, thinking they're winning, not realizing every piece is being positioned for checkmate. That's what happened here. They mistook patience for permission. They thought that because no lightning struck mid-lie, they were safe. But in reality, every false word was another brick stacked on the wall of their own downfall. Delay isn't denial, it's precision. The longer they played their game, the more they exposed themselves. The more they manipulated, the more obvious the truth became. Their trap wasn't your prison, it was their evidence. And now the scales have tipped. Maybe you've asked, why didn't it end sooner? Why was I left standing in the middle of so much unfairness? Because Chosen One, justice that comes too quickly can be questioned. Justice that arrives after exposure becomes undeniable. That's why the wait mattered. Not to test you, but to reveal them fully. And now the balance has shifted. Their false power structures are crumbling. Their influence is unraveling. Their carefully curated images are rotting in the light. There's no walking it back, no rebranding, no "we've all made mistakes" speech strong enough to erase what was done. The damage they tried to dump on you has become their inheritance. When the scales tip, they don't return to balance. They crush the ones who made them heavy. That's what you're watching unfold. And the best part? You don't have to plead your case anymore. The verdict is already written. The same silence that once gave them room is now the silence that buries them, publicly, completely, permanently. Number 9. They weren't fighting you. They were terrified of who you were becoming. They didn't attack your present, they attacked your future because even your shadow was too powerful for them to handle. Chosen One, make no mistake. Their war wasn't against who you were, it was against who they sensed you were about to become. They saw flashes of the healed, elevated, unstoppable version of you, and it terrified them. Your potential made their stomachs turn. Because deep down, they knew the moment you stepped fully into your power, their lies wouldn't last a day under the weight of your truth. Imagine this, a seed barely breaking the soil, and already people are panicking about the size of the tree it might become. That's how they treated you. They saw the signs, the strength forming quietly beneath the surface, and they rushed to cut you down before you could grow. They spread rumors, they twisted truths, they manufactured drama to suffocate your credibility before people had the chance to see your fruit. They weren't just trying to hurt you, they were trying to erase your future. Fear doesn't fight what is, it fights what is coming. That's why their attacks felt relentless. They weren't punishing your mistakes, they were preemptively striking against your destiny. They knew that once your name rose, their illusions would collapse. So they tried to assassinate your reputation before your platform could even rise. Maybe you've asked yourself, why would they waste so much energy on me when I wasn't even at my peak? The answer is simple. They saw it before you did. They sensed the fire before you felt the flame. And instead of preparing themselves to grow, they tried to extinguish you. But here's the twist they didn't expect. Every lie, every betrayal, every attempt to bury you only built the stage for your unveiling. Burial looks the same as planting until the seed breaks the ground. They thought they were ending you, but really they were positioning you. Now their schemes are exhausted, their arsenal empty, and here you are, rising. Not by clapping back, not by forcing revenge, but by existing as undeniable proof that no scheme prospered. Your rise itself is the judgment. Your success is the rebuttal. And nothing terrifies them more than watching you become everything they feared you would be. Number 10. They mistook your restraint for weakness, and that became their downfall. Mercy isn't weakness, it's a warning, and when ignored, it turns into a weapon. Chosen One, they thought your silence meant fear. They saw you stand still while they ran their mouths, and they convinced themselves you lacked the courage to clap back. They mistook your restraint for incapacity. They mistook your mercy for powerlessness. What they never understood was that your silence wasn't submission. It was strategy. You weren't scared. You were disciplined. You weren't avoiding the fight. You were letting the universe handle the case in ways no retaliation ever could. Think about it. You had enough truth to shred them, enough receipts to burn their carefully crafted image to the ground. You could have flipped the script, humiliated them with precision, matched their venom with your own. But you didn't. Why? Because you understood something they didn't. That restraint is sometimes the loudest weapon. Strength isn't always proven by striking back. Sometimes it's proven by refusing to waste a single strike. Maybe you've wondered, did they think I was weak all this time? Did they think I couldn't fight? Yes, they did. They bragged, laughed, and strutted around as if they had won. But what they didn't realize was that every act of restraint was evidence stacking against them. Mercy is not approval. Delay is not denial. The universe doesn't withhold justice because it forgot. It withholds it to give people space to do better. And when they use that space to double down on cruelty, they're not winning. They're digging their own graves, slowly, proudly, and in full view of the world. When mercy ends, exposure begins. And Chosen One, that's exactly what's happening now. The protection they thought they had has lifted. Their alliances are drying up. Their own words are turning against them. The same audience that clapped with them is now questioning everything. Their downfall isn't just punishment, it's clarity. They were never untouchable. They were simply spared because of you. And now that sparing is gone. You didn't need to destroy them. You just needed to survive them. And your survival is the final verdict. The undeniable proof that their arrogance wrote their own ending. Number 11. They thought delay meant safety, but it was really their sentence being written. The universe doesn't forget, it just waits, and the longer it waits, the heavier the judgment falls. Chosen One, they mocked you openly. They whispered your name with arrogance, laughed at your tears, and sneered at your resilience. They convinced themselves nothing was coming. When no doors slammed shut, when no lightning struck, when you didn't clap back, they grew bold. They thought silence meant safety. They thought delay meant disinterest. But delay is not disinterest. Delay is build-up. Think of thunder. The sky darkens, but the sound doesn't crash immediately. It rumbles beneath the surface, growing heavier until the perfect moment when the entire land trembles under its force. That's how the universe works. Not rushing in to spook them, but waiting until the response is undeniable. Patience was never approval. It was precision. Patience is the rope the guilty use to hang themselves. And that's exactly what happened. The longer the universe held back, the more reckless they became. They mocked harder. They recruited others. They doubled down on their lies, thinking they were untouchable. But every word was rope. Every scheme was evidence. And now the rope has tightened. Maybe you've wondered, why didn't it end sooner? Why did they get away with it for so long? Because Chosen One, the waiting wasn't for them, it was for you. The delay ensured that when judgment landed, no one could twist it into your revenge. No one could say you wished for their downfall. The weight of consequence had to be so undeniable that even their allies couldn't defend them. And now the storm has arrived. Their laughter is silent. Their confidence has turned into confusion. The thunder they swore would never come is shaking their foundations. This isn't negotiation, it's retribution. The delay they thought was safety was actually the multiplier of their sentence. The storm doesn't miss, it arrives exactly on time. And Chosen One, that's what you're watching unfold. The scales have tipped. The universe is delivering what was always promised. Their arrogance wrote the script. Their actions sealed the verdict. And now the storm is here, with no way out. Number 12. Your silence wasn't weakness. It was evidence that sealed their fate. Silence isn't surrender. It's the strongest testimony the universe can use against liars. Chosen One, they mistook your quiet for defeat. They thought your lack of retaliation proved they'd broken you, but your silence was never weakness. It was strategy, not in the court of gossip or public opinion, but in the higher court where truth always has the final word. While they shouted, lied, and twisted every detail, you remained composed, not because you had nothing to say, but because you knew exactly who was watching. Sometimes the loudest argument is made in stillness. Every time you chose peace over retaliation, you were building evidence. Every time you walked away instead of clapping back, the universe documented your integrity and their cruelty. You could have exposed them, humiliated them, burned their entire show to the ground, but you didn't. You chose discipline, you chose dignity, and that choice turned into their undoing. Imagine this. Two fighters in a ring. One throws wild punches, desperate for dominance. The other stands still, calm, letting the reckless one tire out, every missed swing exposing their lack of control. That was you. They performed. You endured. And your restraint became the mirror of their corruption. Maybe you've asked yourself, did my silence make me look weak? Did it make them think I was powerless? For a moment, yes, it did. They laughed louder, bragged bolder, and convinced themselves they'd won. But silence doesn't mean absence. Silence means every injustice was being recorded, every betrayal carefully noted. You weren't overlooked, you were being documented. Restraint isn't weakness, it's evidence. And now the file is complete. Your silence didn't disqualify you, it qualified you, it proved who you are, and it revealed who they are. Their arrogance is the only thing left on trial, and the verdict is not up for debate. Chosen One, vindication isn't just coming, it's justified, not because you shouted loud enough, but because your silence spoke louder than their chaos. The very thing they mocked is the very thing sealing their downfall. What they thought was your weakness has become their greatest evidence of guilt. Number 13. They tried to erase you, but the universe is etching your name in gold. Erasure is temporary, but truth is permanent, and the universe always writes in ink, not pencil. Chosen One, they thought they held the pen to your story. They believed if they erased your name from conversations, rewrote the narrative, or buried your truth under gossip, you would vanish. And for a while, it looked like they succeeded. People turned cold. Opportunities disappeared. Your character was doubted. It seemed like their false version of you had become the only version. But here's the twist. They forgot the universe has editorial rights. Every chapter they tried to destroy is being recovered, and not just recovered, redeemed. Your name isn't being cleared in whispers, it's being restored in boldness. The same lies they spread are now fueling the proof of your authenticity. The very doors they slammed shut are creaking open again, not because you begged, but because the truth has a way of breaking locks they thought were permanent. History can be delayed, but it can't be deleted. That's what they failed to understand. They thought their words would become the record. But the universe is rewriting history with your name carved into it. Not in fading ink, but in gold. What they erased is now being highlighted. What they twisted is now being straightened in full view of the same people who once doubted you. Maybe you've asked yourself, why did it take so long? Why did I have to endure being written off? Because sometimes the universe doesn't just restore, it rewrites. It doesn't merely fix the broken pages, it flips the script so completely that your vindication becomes undeniable. The interruption wasn't the ending, it was the setup for a rewrite so powerful the liars don't even get to footnote it. The pen of justice always outlasts the pencil of gossip. And Chosen One, that's what's happening now. They don't get a say anymore. They don't get to edit. They don't get to frame the story in their favor. All they can do is stand back and watch as your name, once dragged through dirt, is lifted, polished, and displayed in gold. Your story was never over. It was only interrupted. And now the next chapter belongs to you. Number 14. They tried to erase your worth. Now the universe is forcing them to acknowledge it out loud. Disrespect shouted in public cannot be erased with apologies whispered in private. Chosen One, they thought they could dishonor you in the open and then whisper regret behind closed doors. They thought invalidating you in front of a crowd could be undone with a quiet excuse no one else would hear. But the universe isn't allowing that. Not after the damage, not after the deliberate attempt to strip you of dignity while others watched. Repentance isn't just feeling sorry, it's restoration. They didn't just hurt your feelings, they tried to dismantle your credibility, stain your name, and bend your character into a lie in places where you weren't present to defend yourself. And now the universe is demanding balance. The same mouths that mocked you will be pressed to honor you. The same voices that rallied others against you will be forced to point back and admit, we were wrong. What is broken in public must be repaired in public, or it was never repaired at all. This isn't about humiliating them, it's about correction. Balance isn't halfway. Justice doesn't stop at silence. Anything less than full reversal is unfinished business, and the universe doesn't leave cases unfinished. Maybe you've wondered, will anyone ever admit what they did? Will the truth ever come out? Yes, and it won't come quietly. The reversal will be loud, clear, undeniable, because silence might soothe them, but it doesn't heal you. Honor lost in public must be restored in public. That's how the balance is set straight. And here's the truth. They'll face a choice. Restore what they stole, or watch as the universe does it for them in ways they can't control. Either way, the outcome is the same. You will be validated. Not faintly, not in shadows, but boldly in the same spaces where you were once shamed. The stage where they mocked you will be the same stage where your honor is announced. And Chosen One, that moment is closer than you think. Because the universe doesn't just repair reputations, it restores honor with the volume turned all the way up. And so, Chosen One, we arrive at the final truth. Everything they tried to bury you with has become the evidence of your rise. Their lies, their attacks, their plots, they were never the end of your story, only the setup for your unveiling. The universe has already shifted the balance, and your name is being restored louder than ever before. If you felt this message pull at your spirit, make sure you press that like button, subscribe for more, drop the number 77 in the comments, and share this with someone who needs to hear it today.